Hi, everybody. Wow. April broadcast time. Tally time. Yeah. That broadcast went up last night. And I did my tally and all that and wanted to get that up for y'all. One thing I want to say beforehand is, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. So when the video came up about Tony Morris and why number one, why is he at a liquor store on Sunday morning when he should have been at the hall and then in service after that? I don't know why that time of day he was at a liquor store that far away from headquarters, like he's trying to not be seen, but got seen anyway, but I called headquarters, and I was going to record the call and put it up on my channel, and I called and I was very upset because they wouldn't talk to me at all. I blocked my number because I know they can find out by looking at my name that, that I'm of my past with them. So I blocked my number. But the brother that I talked to, I explained to them, I watch the broadcasts all the time. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. And I said there's a video going around that I thought was disturbing, and I wanted to get some answers as to why that happened. And I explained to him what it was a little bit, and he says, well, I can't answer that. Just write a letter. And I'm like, well, I know what happens when you write a letter is it gets forwarded to a local hall, and then somebody from the hall calls on you. And that's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for an answer. And he just kept saying, well, I can't help you with that. I don't know anything about it. Nothing. And he wouldn't say anything. And, I think it's so unlikely that they don't know anything about it. I think they do know about it. I think they probably, after yesterday, caught wind of it. They know exactly what's going on. And for them not to address it is terribly wrong. I think somebody should write a letter. See, he said, well, you can write a letter and request that they don't, come by your house, that you just get an answer. And, I might do that. I really might. I don't know what name I'd put on it, because they look up my name and then you're going to see my past and not want to tell me anything. That's the way they act. But I want to get an answer from them why that happened and what's going on. And I think it's way too inappropriate of an incident. I think that, number one, you would think that the governing body members would send somebody out to do those things, that they themselves would not go and purchase things like that themselves, that they'd send some little peon to go take care of it for them. Why in the world would he find it necessary to go out on a Sunday morning, meeting day, service day, and to drive 23 miles from the nearest liquor store? There's liquor stores next to where they are. He could have just gone to one of them, but he drove out 23-minute drive out and a 23-minute drive back, trying to make sure nobody saw him do it, even though they did. But I say, okay, the last time I bought liquor like that, it was for my very first wedding, and I had 75 people coming, and I went out and got 12 bottles of whiskey and a few other things just for fun. I don't drink whiskey, but, you know, a lot of the other people did. But, I mean, certainly didn't buy expensive stuff like he did. I mean, I got Canadian whiskey, you know, but, you know, that was a long time ago, 35 years ago, but, or something like that, I don't remember. But, it can't be for the memorial. That's just doesn't fit. There's just so many things about it that just don't seem right. And say, for instance, that Tony, because he was sick last time I saw him on the broadcast, say, just for, I'm just saying it, I'm not saying it's true, I'm just saying I'm thinking of it. Say he has a drinking problem, and he can't get anybody to buy liquor for him to go out and do it because they won't supply him liquor because they feel he doesn't need it. Then he would be forced to go out and get it on his own. So he only had a certain amount of time to go. So let's say he got a few months worth of liquor for himself and gonna hide it so no one can find it. You know, something weird. Alcoholics will do that. So I would like to know what's going on. I think it's fishy. They're gonna have a big, huge problem because current JWs are gonna see it. And they're going to be wanting answers. And do you know how many people that could possibly just leave Watchtower for what they just witnessed in that video? You know, because I'm curious too. Was that his own money, or was that donation money? One of my current witness friends, I showed him the video, and he says, well, maybe Tony stood out on the corner for a few hours with a sign, "We'll work for food," or, you know, "I'm poor, I need money," and he just stood there until he had enough money to go buy it. But, you know, I mean, we're just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. You know, come on. There must be a reason. But if you call headquarters, and like I say, I'm sure they know about the video already, so why aren't they going to say anything about it? Inquiring minds want to know. Right? I want to know. I want to know. Like I say, I think Tony Morris has been ill, and going out and buying a bunch of liquor is not a good sign when he looked the way he did. That's even more concerning. If I was still a current JW and saw those things, I'd probably be a little more irate than I am. But I'm like angry. I'm disgusted. I expected some kind of answer when I called headquarters, and they blew me off completely. Blew me off. And you know, when Watchtower blows you off that way, that's a good indication that they do know about it, and they're not going to say anything, and we're told not to say anything. but something's going to come of it. That I don't think that's just going to go away. But, okay, so, up for the tally. I'm glad I did the tally last night, because if I had to do the tally after I made that phone call, I wouldn't have felt like doing it. I would have been too disgusted, you know, but yeah. Samuel Hurd gave a good talk. He's 84 years old. He gave a talk about giving back to Jehovah. You know, they use that name. And it was an alright talk, except he said Jehovah every other breath. and he did say God a few times to give himself a break from saying Jehovah. He said it so much. They had a pretty good talk on about the value of older people. But the whole meaning behind the whole talk, you know, was, well, this lady's 106 years old, which was a while back. They said she's 108 now. And she's still, you know, working hard for Jehovah. This woman, she finds complete, for her reason to live is to teach other people about their made-up name for God. But she believes it to be true, so that's what matters. I mean, the lady seemed like a really nice lady. Of course, she's misled and lied to and doesn't know it. And at that age, you know, you don't want to tell them. No, it's too much to go through to have to try and get past that. Wouldn't do that to somebody that was 108 years old, or even 106. She was. Her mind is right as, I mean, boy, her brain is still completely there at 106. I hope I live to see 70, and, you know, there's people like that that are just all together there. She has trouble walking. Other than that, her mind is clear. She's doing real good. But let's see, the broadcast was 54 minutes and 5 seconds. And in 54 minutes, they managed to say Jehovah 83 times. That's what I'm saying. They said it a lot. They said Jesus 16, and that's quite a bit, but it's getting close to the memorial, so that's normal. They're going to talk a little more about Jesus than normal. They only mentioned Satan once, so 16 to 1, that was really a good difference. I think they should do more talking about Jesus. I hope they do, even after the memorial, because, you know, Jesus is always going to be important, not just at memorial time. They said organization 4 times. They never mentioned the faithful and discreet slave, or the Holy Spirit, or the governing body, or the truth. They did mention the Christ once, as opposed to Jesus. They said Christ once. They said loyal once, which, you know, loyal is like this big thing lately, you know, loyal this, loyal that. And they said brotherhood once. They like to bring brotherhood into it. But all in all, it was a pretty generic broadcast, except, you know, this lady's 106 years old and still getting out there, so why can't you? It's always a pep talk, guilt trip, you know, thing, and they do that repetitively every month. It's like, you know, look at this brother and sister. They don't have arms or legs, but they're regular pioneers, you know. So why can't you pioneer? You know, it's always about, you know, we know you have busy lives and that you're run plumb out of minutes in your day, but there, you know, I'm sure you can always find a way to pioneer on top of that, right? I mean, you can scrape those minutes together, right? Look at how these people do it. You know, they're old, they're disabled, they're you know, I'm like, man, they show people in gurneys. I've seen that, people in gurneys that have no arms and legs, and they're pushing people around and showing how they preach about the religion and all that, and just to make people feel guilty, you know. And meanwhile, while they're making the rank and file feel guilty and pushing them and pushing them and pushing them right into exhaustion and poverty, they're out there getting $89 a bottle liquor and carting it back and drinking high buck stuff. I mean, how come they can't drink Canadian whiskey? How come they gotta drink Irish whiskey that is 12 years old that's hundreds of dollars a bottle? I mean, it's insane. You know, most people cannot afford that. Older people on pensions cannot afford $80-some a bottle liquor. I mean, I got wine for the memorial, and the wine I got was just, you know, a regular sized bottle, and it cost me I think $12 or something, and I'm gonna reopen the same bottle that I drank wine out of last year, because, you know, I don't drink much. I mean, just for special occasions. So I'm gonna drink the same wine I had for the memorial last year. You know, I make my own unleavened bread. I can't afford to do that. But Toni Morris and them, they're old guys. They're a lot older than me even. You know, pensioner people. And they're going out buying high buck stuff and lots of it. And I think it's terrible that they do that to their rank and file. They keep them poor, and they guilt trip them, and they manipulate them and mislead them and lie to them and use theocratic warfare on their own people, all that stuff. And they're partying down hardy at headquarters. Toni Morris is going to be the life of the party now, you know. Oh, you know. Yeah, what a disgrace. I'm so glad I got out of the organization when I did. I mean, it's terrible. I heard somebody say on a video that Toni Morris is now part of the drunken Rutherford group. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, Rutherford drank. He was a terrible drunk. A lot of the presidents and the leaders and stuff of the organization were known to be drinkers and verbally and physically abusive with people. I mean, it's disgraceful. And the organization isn't going to get out information on that. They're not going to explain themselves, because if you ask them and you say, man, can you tell me why that is, and why that video is going around, and why he was buying all that liquor, and they're like, well, I can't answer that question for you. Yeah, well, I get disgusted with Watchtower myself. You know, I'm a pretty nice person. I'm forgiving. I like to build people up, but how can you build somebody up when you see something like that? You're like, yeah, they're a bunch of dummies. They're bad examples. They don't follow Christ's commandments. They don't act like he does. They don't talk like Jesus would. And, you know, it's disgraceful in my opinion. It is. You know, I'm glad I got out of there, because you can't be proud to call yourself a Jehovah's Witness when things are going around like that, the child abuse and the drunken governing body and all that stuff, you know, nah. You can't be proud to be a Jehovah's Witness. Nah. You might have learned a few valuable things from studying this and that. You might be a little smarter for it, but all in all, are you proud of it? Nah. Not proud of it. And if you're not proud of it, it's time to go. But anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Sorry about I didn't get that video of a recording to headquarters like I was gonna. But there was nothing to record because he wouldn't say anything. Isn't that terrible? So somebody else, think of something. Call him up. See if anybody can get information out of him. The more people that call, the more they're going to have to pay attention to it. Don't tell them you used to be a Jehovah's Witness. Tell them, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I'd like to know what's going on. If they get thousands and thousands of calls, they'll have to say or do something about it. So, call people. The number is 845-744-6000. And it's free to call from the United States on any cell phone. Maybe even from Canada, it's free to call headquarters. But bother them, bug them. Make them be accountable for this. I want to know why, and I want to know what's going on. I do. I bet a lot of you do too. So, call them. Have fun. Let us know how it went. Talk to y'all later.